The 49ers got some major injury updates right before their Week 15 matchup with the Tennessee Titans. Now, while these injuries might not be critical to this upcoming game, they're important to keep track of because of the players that are still waiting to come back from injury and their unknown timelines and the effect that that might have on the Niners' ability to play well down the stretch of the season. We're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any Niners updates. We're going to give you everything we got, including these injury updates right before the Niners play the Tennessee Titans tomorrow. At the time of this recording, we got a lot of injury updates. It had started with one that I had been alluding to in my last video, but we finally got confirmation. Niners defensive lineman Yetur Gross-Matos will not be activated for tomorrow's game versus the Titans, and he is out. I thought that this was a likely decision for the Niners. His practice window got opened late in the week, and I just didn't think that that was going to be enough time for him to get ready for the game. Better safe than sorry. I think this is a good move for the Niners. So Gross-Matos is not going to be in uniform tomorrow, but looks like he will hopefully be ready for the following week's game Monday night against the Colts. So that is a little bit of a concern. Of course, he's not ready yet, but he was just on IR, so it makes sense. But the Niners' defensive line and pass rush specifically has been very inconsistent this year, and you would argue it's because the Niners' defensive line has been the hit the hardest from injuries. Of course, Nick Bosa and Michael Williams both suffered torn ACLs this season. Clelin Ferrell has been a bright spot, especially right before the bye week. He got onto a hot streak in terms of quarterback pressure. So we'll see if without Gross-Matos this week, that if anybody else can continue to pick up that potential production. But that's not the biggest injury update that we got even just today, because today it was announced from Adam Schefter that Niners running back Christian McCaffrey was added to the injury report and is now listed as questionable for Sunday's game for the Titans due to a back injury. Now, before we all get into a frenzy, because I understand that this is very nerve-wracking, Schefter did follow up and say that despite being downgraded to questionable, McCaffrey is likely good to go for the Titans game tomorrow. But still, it is very nerve-wracking because anytime you see a Christian McCaffrey injury report, you get concerned because despite all of the Niners' injuries this season, McCaffrey has been a healthy workhorse and kind of the motor that has given this offense life. And this is extremely impressive considering, historically speaking, McCaffrey has been one of those superstar players who can get hurt for extended periods of time. Just look at the 2024 season right after his outstanding 2023 season. So it's no secret as well that McCaffrey has been, the statistics back it up, that proves that he's been the number one guy. He's looking to break records for both on track for a 1,000 receiving yard and 1,000 rushing yard season. Of course, the Niners run game hasn't been great. He's averaging less than 4 yards a carry, but he's been an absolute machine. So, and that's because he has avoided the injury report. So to see him on the injury report, especially a day before the Titans game, is a little concerning, but Schefter's assurance that he will be likely good to go, that is positive. But I will say this, if McCaffrey isn't available to play 100% tomorrow versus the Titans, there's no reason to give him the same amount of workload that he's been given other points this season. Brian Robinson Jr. exists. He is a great running back. He's been a great substitute back for McCaffrey throughout the season. I've been saying before, there's no reason why Robinson Jr. should not be getting at least 10 carries a game. And tomorrow's game versus the Titans should be a perfect opportunity for this. If McCaffrey, even if he plays and he suits up, if he's not 100%, there's no reason for him to be getting the same workload when you have Brian Robinson Jr. available to play as well. So we'll keep an eye on all of that, but that's not the only injury that the Niners have kept an eye on or are updated on, because of course the other big one that I immediately look to is the Tatum Bethune injury. Of course, Bethune's been on the injury report since the second Cardinals game last month with his ankle injury. It was possible that he could come back after the bye week after extra rest, but that's just not the case. He's not ready to come back yet. So that's totally understandable. Of course, the Bethune injury, it looked serious, and they said he was going to miss a few weeks, so he should be back by the end of the regular season at some point. So, but that's not coming tomorrow versus the Titans. And despite the defense playing super well down the stretch before the bye week, I talked about Clelin Ferrell being a super solid pass rusher. The defense as a whole has played really well. They gave up 9 points, then 8 points versus the Browns. So the defense has been playing well, but I think without Tatum Bethune, they've been missing a crucial piece. Of course, Bethune has been Fred Warner's replacement since Warner has been recovering from injury. By the way, the Fred Warner recovery saga has been crazy. I'm not going to open that can of worms in this video, but we'll keep you updated on that as well. But Curtis Robinson, of course, has been holding down the fort in Bethune's absence. But with Bethune still on the injured list, I just can't help but think about how much better this team will get once he comes back, because he was playing lights out football along with Nick Martin, who just started to come into his own in the last few weeks of the season, but he is also out this week with a concussion. So no Nick Martin, no Tatum Bethune. The linebacker room continues to be thin, and that's something to keep an eye on, not just for this week's game against the Titans, but going forward, because of course the Niners, they finish on the road in Indianapolis, then they come home for the Bears and Seahawks games. Those last two games will be crucial to the NFC playoff seeding. So the linebacker room will be crucial based on their performance and even just their availability. But the Niners, of course, aren't the only team dealing with injuries. The Titans have injury issues as well, and it might not be looked at the same way because one team is fighting for potentially still the number one seed in the NFC, and the other team is potentially tanking for the number one overall pick. But the Titans have injuries coming into this game as well. They have three offensive linemen who are questionable for tomorrow's game, so they elevated offensive lineman John Ojokwu from the practice squad. This matchup's going to look very interesting because you have a depleted Niners defensive line versus a likely depleted Titans offensive line. So the Niners defensive line does have a good opportunity to get pressure on Cam Ward and play good football because the Titans offensive line is depleted as well. And that might end up being more important than people realize, because don't let the Titans record fool you. Cam Ward is the real deal, and he has shown flashes of it this season. Of course, it hasn't translated to a lot of wins, but he's shown enough to where Niners coaching staff is looked at it, because Kyle Shanahan was asked about it earlier this week, and he said, quote, "You can see why he's the first pick in the draft. He throws like a top quarterback. He can make every throw on the field." And if you turn on the tape and watch Cam Ward play football, you will see that. Even in their game against the Browns, he made a really impressive play to just throw the ball away and avoid a sack, which kind of encapsulates the situation that he's been in this year with the Titans. So don't let the Titans' bad record fool you. They have some great pieces, and it starts with their rookie quarterback. The Niners' defensive line has a great opportunity to make him feel uncomfortable and put pressure on him because he's playing behind a potentially really depleted offensive line. That might be the X factor in this game, and that might be even more important considering the Niners are missing two important pieces at the linebacker position and the second level as well. So we'll keep you updated, of course, on the timelines of when these players could be coming back, as well as Christian McCaffrey's availability and his production in the Titans game, and as well as the results of the game, what our big takeaways are, and what we think the Niners will look like going forward in following the Titans game tomorrow. So that's all for this video on Niners Digest. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and we will see you in the next video.